It's Rewind to Raw. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting, live from Toronto. Hello, Wai.
Hello, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How was your Raw viewing experience?
Typical, I would say, for the most part. Yeah. I snuck in a salad towards the last 15 minutes, so I'm a little bit late. Apologies.
You know, there's some water main on our street that we got advance notice of that we were going to have no water today. I cannot tell you how inconvenient that is to be without water for 12 hours.
I could imagine. I mean, it is one of life's necessities. I mean, I take water before losing electricity, I feel.
Yeah, I would too. After today. Yeah. So anyway.
So you're still without water?
No, it came back on. It was supposed to come on at 8 p.m. Came on at 9 p.m., but we were without water the entire day. So
So what'd you do?
I went out, I hung out with you all day. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Not all day, but I did see you today. It was a little post gathering today at the famous Sneaky D's.
That is correct, yeah. And the occasion, of course, is because Eric Marcotte is in town.
He is. We caught up with Eric.
Oh, for the first time, really?
Yes, I've never met the man. Came
Yeah.
down from Sudbury. It was great to meet him. And we got some cameos from the great Phil Chairtalk, W.H. Park, and, of course, the Brady.
Always a lovely time whenever we can. I mean, always a lovely time in person or online, but in person, it felt special. It was nice.
It was fun. How were the fish tacos?
Not that great.
No?
Honestly,
Oh, that's
no.
why you offered me one at the end. You didn't want to have
No.
the third? Oh, okay.
No, I offered you one because you looked like you were starving. Because everybody who listens to this might know that John Pollock, for some reason, hates beans. So he always likes to get beans on the side of his nachos. And I mean, these were communal nachos, of course, the King's Crown. And, we're like, okay, yeah, let's get beans on the side. And then,
We had our whole order done, and then it was changed for us.
Listen, there's a very lovely man working there who very friendly and offered to suggest, hey, instead of the beans, why don't you guys try chili on top of the nachos? It sounds great to me, Oh yeah, chili, of course, yeah, wonderful substitute. And of course, these nachos come, and there are beans in the chili. So
Which was my
suspicion.
This went through my mind, but as you positioned it, it was like, well, instead of the baked beans on the side, why don't you get chili? I'm like, okay, well, he realizes we don't want beans, so it was, hey, instead of beans, how about you have beans?
It was how about you have this other thing that also has beans in it, but it's got some other stuff too. I mean, it's a lower volume of beans to
It was
nacho.
Whatever,
But
it was fine. The wings were really good.
I mean, yeah, I just felt bad for you because it looked like you didn't have that much food to eat.
Yeah, it's
so.
okay. I hadn't had breakfast.
Poor guy, no water.
I was without food until this
no
meal.
water, beans on his nachos.
I drank about 5 waters at this particular lunch.
And the subway broke down on the way there.
Oh my God, I
You
forgot
just had
about
an
that.
awful day.
I go on the subway. First of all, I put my mask into my pocket, and I'm racing to the subway. And somewhere between here and the subway station, my mask had fallen out of my pocket. So I went onto the subway, and I was like, first of all, I felt like a jerk getting onto the subway without a mask, and a little subconscious. But it was like, okay, I've got 6 stops or so. And then the train breaks down. And so I get out, and it's like a half-hour walk from where I'm going. So I sped walk. I think I got there in like 20.
You are a very fast walker.
But it was super hot out. It was
Yeah.
it was very hot by this point. Anyway, it was all worth it. All worth it for the destination. I was glad we got to catch up, even to see you. I don't get to see you all that often in person.
Hey, man, if you're out of water anytime, you can come by. Like,
Are we at that kind of a stage
Of
at our
course.
friendship? Like, hey,
What?
wait, I need to like take a shower. Can I come over?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I'm glad we've passed that. That's okay. I would have liked to have known that earlier today, but nonetheless.
You just gotta ask.
Oh well, I appreciate.
I'm
that.
offended. Actually, you didn't.
Well, how did you How did you feel the sport? What time did you go to sleep last night?
Like about 5:30. Yeah.
5:30. Wow.
Yeah.
You really need like some time to like wind down. I was done after we were done recording. I think I was. The problem was I had like a decaf coffee like right around the main event, and I know it's decaf, but I still think your body still gets a jolt.
No doubt. Yeah. Maybe it's a placebo. I mean, there's still a little bit of caffeine in decaf. But I mean, it's also like, like doing the show and a bit of kind of all that. But, for me, it was like a lot of like, the post-production work as well, like making graphics and all that shit. So, yeah. So, I mean, these are long nights, so.
They are. But, and here's another one after 3 hours of Raw. I'm not going to go through all of the news items, but we will be back on Tuesday with the post-daily news show. We do have stories up on the site on Tarzan Goto, who died on Sunday at the age of 58. Pretty important figure, especially in the history of FMW and his alliance with Atsushi Onita. Throughout their careers, very influential figure in Tarzan Goto as well.
A man I've actually met.
You've met Tarzan Goto. I did not know that.
One time I was like just in Japan kind of by myself. It might have been after like one of our K1 trips actually with the Fight Network, and I just like had a few extra days myself. I was just wandering through the streets of Tokyo, and then all of a sudden I see like in this like some photos of professional wrestling on like the entry way of a bar. And I walked downstairs, of course, I'm by myself. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm curious to see.
Was he a cook?
He was not a cook. He owned the bar. It was Tarzan
Okay.
Goto's bar, and there he was
Okay.
sitting there, and like, like they just kind of welcomed me, and they started talking about the Stampede and all this stuff. So I mean, that was really interesting.
Wow, I did not know that. I know you. Was this the same trip you saw Great Sasuke on the subway in his mask?
No, that was a different trip.
Different trip.
They're
Okay.
just everywhere. Wrestlers are just everywhere if you look for them.
Well, you can check that out on the site as well. An unfortunate story involving Jake Atlas, who was arrested and is facing a charge of domestic assault. Andrew Thompson has a story up on the site. He was arrested on May the 23rd for domestic assault on his partner of several years. Also, in a couple of hours' time, it's going to be the Best of the Super Juniors with the second to last show. The finals are on Friday, but tomorrow's Tuesday morning show will determine the two block winners. So essentially, it has come down to, on the A block side, Taiji Ishimori and Hiromu Takahashi. If Ace Austin were to beat Francesco Akira and Taiji Ishimori loses, there would be a three-way tie where Austin has a win over Ishimori but a loss to Takahashi. That is highly improbable. I think it will likely come down to a Taiji Ishimori and Hiromu Takahashi, and the winner advances to face the winner of the B block. The B block has El Fantasmo, El Desperado, and in the main B block match, and then Robbie Eagles against Teton. Robbie Eagles is still alive. Fantasmo and Desperado are also still alive. So Eagles has wins over both Fantasmo and Desperado. So if Eagles and Desperado win, then Eagles would advance. But if Eagles loses, then it's just the winner of Fantasmo and Desperado. Again, that's probably the most likely outcome, and we will see. I could certainly see Desperado and Hiromu ending up in the finals, and then the winner would be challenging Taiji Ishimori. But we will see how things shake out on Tuesday morning to conclude the round robin portion of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. Also, up on the site, we have the schedule for this week, and it is a new month at the Post Wrestling Cafe. So we will be kicking things off late Tuesday night with Rewind Away, as we are going to be reviewing an episode of Friends focused on Jon Favreau becoming a UFC fighter while dating Monica, and an episode of The Office from season 2, episode 6, The Fight between Michael Scott and Dwight.
Oh, so does the Office episode have any MMA tie-in or no?
Very loose ties to karate. Yes.
Okay. All right.
You have not watched either yet.
I have. I mean, I've probably seen the episodes.
Okay.
But yeah,
These are ones you could literally sit down an hour before we record and you'll be fine time wise. These were very easy watches.
Well, I know you're not an Office fan, so I look forward to at least talking to you about The Office. One of my
I don't think
favorite
you've got to
shows.
be a fan of the show to appreciate it, though. I think it's when you
Yeah.
can sit down and just pick an episode at random,
Definitely.
and enjoy it.
Definitely.
Friends, I think you kind of have to be more aware of the characters a bit more. Which I was never a super avid watcher of Friends, but I've certainly watched quite a bit of Friends over the years, just because
Who's your
it's on.
favorite?
My favorite one,
Who's your favorite friend?
maybe Phoebe,
Okay.
Lisa
Interesting.
Kudrow.
Interesting. Yeah, Phoebe person. Okay. I like Chandler and Monica. I think they're
Chandler was always a
together.
fun character. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
he's dealing with workplace harassment in this episode.
Ooh, okay. And that's where the MMA comes in? Is that it?
No, completely divorced from the MMA story. I mean, it's. I will tell you this. I do. Everyone that listened to our recent episode going through the Shawn Michaels Lost My Smile. Well, folks, I do have a book excerpt for this particular
What?
episode.
Interesting.
Who wrote about this in their book? We'll find out on Tuesday night. Rewind away as Way and I will dive into this. Also this week, I believe up next will be coming out Wednesday morning, I understand, from Braden Harrington and Davey Portman. You can look forward to that. Rewind to SmackDown Friday night, exclusive for all Post Wrestling Cafe members. And then this weekend, you will get post shows after NXT In Your House from Braden and Davey. And Way and I will be live minutes after Hell in a Cell to review the show from Chicago on the YouTube channel and available to download on your podcast app of choice.
And every day at youtube.com/postwrestling at 1 p.m. Eastern for our post-daily news update. If you're a Post Wrestling Cafe patron, you get that right into your devices, so you can listen to it at any time afterwards.
That's right. And for the month, we will be having some of the highlights for those that jump onto the Post Wrestling Cafe. 3 editions of Rewind Away, if you include what we're releasing tomorrow night, which really bleeds into June. But we'll also be doing reviews of Money in the Bank 2016, TNA Destination X from 2012, and the return of Talk in June. Way and I will be having a much anticipated talk.
Our quarterly talks, yes.
Live in person, I believe.
Quarterly for that too, yeah. 4 times a year, everybody, or 5, 6 times. 4, like it's getting to be more like 4 times a year. We will talk about something besides professional wrestling.
That's right.
At
So
length.
look forward to that this month. PostWrestlingCafe.com. $6 gets you in the door for all of our bonus shows that we put out each week and access to the entire archive. Sit back and just listen to 111 Rewind Aways. Put it on 2 times the speed.
No, put it on half the speed. Okay,
Okay.
Come on.
Really?
Listen, what are you doing here? You want the full experience. You want to digest every single morsel. You know, it's like when you're eating a very tasty meal. I don't think you don't go to a Michelin star restaurant and just rush to eat the food. You know, you should be savoring every single bite. So you should be listening to these podcasts at half the speed.
The best way, yes.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on just any of the fallout from Double or Nothing on Sunday? I caught a bit of the post show media scrums that Tony Khan held with several of the wrestlers as well. MJF stuff. Anything you wanted to touch upon before we go over to Raw?
Well, I mean, obviously the biggest talk coming out of the show is still the MJF things, and I don't think we've had much new information in that regard. Certainly still a lot of speculation about what exactly is real or not at this point, and how, inevitably I feel like it will be used to further maybe a story. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get another chapter very shortly that we'll be talking about. But yeah, the press conference itself, the clip that's been making the rounds has been, I guess, Tony Khan cutting a promo on Eric Bischoff because he did not like what he had to say about CM Punk not being a draw. I don't know. It was fine. It was like
It got a lot of circulation.
guy getting mad.
Yeah.
That's all. Jericho talking a lot about like the making of the anarchy in the arena was kind of cool. I really just in general like the idea of these media scrums and the fact that they seem to be completely just like you would hear Jericho speak in a podcast or an interview on this site or any of the other sites. It's just guys kind of talking about the performance that they just had.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of them, but generally, like the wrestlers also, like, they seem to be engaged with them too. It doesn't feel like just a media obligation that they have to go through. I think they, by and large, I won't say maybe for every single person, but they seem like genuinely interested in the questions, and it's just something very different for them if they've, I would say, no matter what your background in is pro wrestling, this is something very foreign to a professional wrestling kind of media coverage.
There's also a lot of questions, or at least discussion from Tony Khan regarding the length of the pay-per-view, which was also another major talking point coming out of the show. And I believe like much of his reasoning was, I mean, because of the basketball game, and I think his reasoning that, I mean, it is proven to be a bit of a competitor to, or maybe, you know, a lot of a competitor to professional wrestling. And he believes that in delaying the show, or at least, you know, extending the card by 40 something minutes, he says it was a difference of like 6 figures in terms of how much money they made. So, I mean, he's the numbers guy, so, you know, I would assume there's sound logic in what he thinks.
And but going in, they knew there was a 28.1% chance that they would be going against Game 7 of the Miami-Boston series. 28.1%.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we have a real-life Alexander York here in Tony Khan, I think.
That's right, yes. You know, when MJF was asked about, he just said he was not going to comment on him, which, I mean, to me, I think it at the very least, like, I think whatever you want to think of whatever has gone down this weekend, I think the large consensus is like the no showing of the fan fest. That part everyone buys as legitimate, and I think that did warrant something about, you know, you had a advertised event for your fans that did not happen. I think there's something there, but if the guy's not going to comment on it, he's not going to comment on it. But regardless, I think like that is going to continue to be a topic, and I think now everyone is in the mode of how they are handling it now. I think we know how this started, and how is this, like, what has happened since, of how they move forward with this, when in theory you've got a year and a half left on this guy's contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maximizing it, pardon the pun.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you say maximizing, like, not just maximizing the contract, but I would say maybe in some way maximizing the buzz surrounding this story. You know, whether or not it was deliberately started, or if it really just came about. I mean, there is considerable talk, and you do have somebody who's a very hot character in the wrestling world right now, and MJF even hotter than he was just, you know, based off of his on-screen performances.
And how that's taken by others, that if this is just fully turned into some elaborate angle of how someone is rewarded for no showing an event.
Right. Yeah.
Like there will be many, I think, mixed opinions of that as well. But I think a lot is in the air that people are going to be focused on this. And it's certainly a front and center story now that MJF is a central figure in the pro wrestling news cycle, and every move will be focused on heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. All the latest news can be found up at postwrestling.com. And again, we will be live Tuesday, 1 Eastern, with the return of the Post Daily News Show. Raw on Monday night took place from the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa, the home state of one Seth Rollins. And it's Becky Lynch starting the show, and she runs on spite and coffee, and she's feeling pretty fueled up. Sounds like my diet.
Spite and coffee.
Yeah.
You like a bit of milk and a bit of sugar and a bit of spite with your coffee.
Huh? That's it. That's the secret ingredient. Some people collect stamps. She collects enemies, which to each your own. They show a photo of Asuka winning the Money in the Bank in the bizarre location that was the WWE headquarters that feels like ages ago, which I guess it was. And then, of course, Becky handing over the Raw Women's title to Asuka the next night on Raw, and said she created an entitled monster. So Asuka comes out. She's still mocking Becky, crying like a baby. She's going to be the next champion. Bianca's out. She respects Asuka, but you kicked me last week, and my title isn't going anywhere on Sunday. And Becky, just out of nowhere, jabs her. The 3 fight, and it ends with Becky being hit with a hip attack off the apron. And our match is Bianca Belair against Asuka in a non-title match.
Mm. You know, this opening segment, much like the rest of this entire show, was a very cookie cutter, pretty typical but I would say decent. Scene setting type of segment here. Really just there to kind of remind us of the match that's taking place on Sunday with all three participants and doing it all in a pretty compact 10 minutes. I can't really say there was all that much that was unique or interesting about it outside of Becky Lynch's continued evolving looks, which I love. I every time she comes out here, she's coming out looking completely different, and it's actually one of the more interesting things about the show at this point. So I think it's great.
Becky was on commentary for the match, and Belair rolls through on a vertical, and Asuka gets out, goes to the ankle lock, then to a knee bar, and Belair just powers up to her feet. They go through the break. The countdown clock has been moved to Riddle and Nakamura versus the Usos. Cody lost his clock. The third week last week. It did not have its effect of the first 2 weeks. Cody loses the clock.
Yeah, well, I guess they could have put him in the 10 o'clock segment, but ultimately this is, I think, it was always meant to be the 10 o'clock clock.
It is. The 10 o'clock has now regained the clock. It's no longer Cody's clock.
He lost the 10 o'clock hour, maybe is the more maybe accurate way to put it.
Yeah.
And after all the heels started commenting about him having his own clock dedicated to him last week too.
Asuka climbs, she's yelling at Lynch, so Belair knocks her down, and then Belair gets knocked off and hit with a missile drop kick. Belair lifts her for the KOD. Asuka avoids it, but lands badly on her knee, rolling to the floor, but then comes back, spinning back fist, goes for the Asuka lock, and Belair gets her up almost with a version of the Dodon, I guess, pulling for Taguchi, who is mathematically out of it, and does a handspring moonsault that misses, and Belair blocks a Magistral Cradle and covers Asuka, getting the pin, beating one of the challengers going into Sunday. This would be one of several challengers losing going into their title match on Sunday.
It's true, yeah. But what was the alternative here? I don't think Asuka should have beaten or should have pinned Belair here. And the other alternative would have been a DQ finish, and I don't want that either, John. Okay, because
they're like, we're gonna do 2 tonight. We're not doing 3.
Yeah. So I mean, I was a bit surprised at the fact that we simply even got a clean finish here. I thought this match was excellent. Is the type of match where I don't feel will be appreciated enough at all, because I think we've been so conditioned to not expect good wrestling anymore on Raw. But I thought, seeing these two, they had like a little kind of like singles, like a 3-minute no contest type of match earlier. But like this to me was the first time we got to see these two at length in the ring together in a singles capacity, and I thought they showcased some really beautiful chemistry. They moved so fluidly together. I think Belair, she's really perfected her sort of acrobatic powerhouse style, and it meshed really well with Asuka and her striking and just her constant hunting for these like flying submissions. So they've shown enough to me here that I really want to see these two on a bigger stage, tell a longer story in the future.
I think the match will be very good on Sunday when you're adding Becky to the mix, and we'll go over the whole card at the end of the show. Becky attacks them. There's a suplex to Asuka, and then a manhandle slam. So Becky lays out both as your go-home segment for Sunday. Kevin Owens and Alpha Academy against Ezekiel and the Mysterios. They go through a commercial break, and Owens slaps on a sharpshooter onto Dominic.
How'd it look?
I thought this one was above the pack that we saw on Sunday. I thought this was maybe the best sharpshooter in the past 24 hours.
Agreed.
He locked it on pretty well. Ezekiel gets the hot tag, hits a jumping knee to Owens, stinger splashes to Gable and Owens. We have always talked like Elias was a good character. Bell would ring, and you just had no interest in him. This guy has found his role as a babyface working in a trios capacity. Very good with the hot tag. He's watching his Sting tapes. I don't know what he's doing. It's like it's like the Blade Runners in this man's body.
Mm-hmm. I think it falls somewhere in between, like, it feels like it is a parody of like your classic white meat babyface. And I think he's doing such a great job of it, like down to the look and just the comebacks too.
Yeah. He spins Gable into a sit-out powerbomb. Otis makes the save, and then Otis catches Dominic, and Ray comes off with a seated senton. Owens ducks a 619. The super kick misses Ray and hits Gable, and then Gable is hit with a double 619, and Ezekiel pins Gable after a spinning vertical suplex. And Owens just has a huge tantrum, destroys the announcer's desk, and is upset. as we end this segment. But I thought this match was a really nice 6-man tag, and I'll say you had a lot of good performers in this, but Ezekiel did his part fine in this.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, him being in a singles match with Kevin Owens at, an expected duration of like 10 plus minutes, that's going to be a different challenge. And that really does remain to be seen on Sunday. But here, you're right. Like in some sort of like multi-main capacity with somebody like a Rey Mysterio and a Chad Gable and a Kevin Owens and a Dominic, he was very well utilized. So are you suggesting you want to see him permanently in a trio setting? Can he do a tag team setting? Do you think he'd be successful doing that?
That's what we need in WWE, the trios titles. They need to beat AEW to the punch. This would be Ezekiel's role. Team him with the Mysterios every week. I don't need him in singles matches, but in a trios, perfect. Sounds great. Cody Rhodes comes out. First hour, Cody. He says he's always been a fan of Seth Rollins. He had endless potential. And without saying Dusty's name, he refers to his father also seeing endless potential in Seth. So the crowd chants Dusty. And he is a generational talent that lives up to the hype. And Cody admits he was nervous before WrestleMania because he could not return here with a loss. And he has beaten Seth twice, and it's driving him crazy. All of his respect and reverence for Seth will be locked outside of the cage because he wants to hurt the man. So Seth makes his way through the crowd, and he's walking down the aisle. There's like this child that's trying to grab him, and then there's this other guy on the aisle who's just clapping, and as the music ends and he just gets out, "Fuck him up, Seth!" Nicely audible here on the broadcast. He does not like Cody and doesn't want him here. He tried to accept this new version, but every week the pandering gets worse and the Cody chants get louder. You left WWE 6 years ago because you weren't good enough. You and your little friends tried to tear down what I was building here. And when it didn't work out so well for you, you came running back. You don't get to take a sledgehammer to the throne and come back to take that throne from me. I don't like you. I don't want you here. I am going to change you and end you at Hell in a Cell, and then we can all wake up from this American nightmare. Now, I spared you all the ha-ha. If he could just get rid of those, this was a great promo from Seth.
Some good editing from you, John, taking out the ha-ha filter. It was great. Absolutely, completely agreed. Yeah. I think like in this feud, my favorite promo from Seth thus far, because it felt real. And it gave you a very clear storyline here. Again, I think one of the best things about Cody thus far is that he is continuing the same narrative that has followed him throughout his AEW run until WWE. It is one story. And now Seth Rollins has kind of jumped into that whole mindset as well, referring very much so to, what was this, All In? When he took the sledgehammer to the throne? Was that that show?
Double or Nothing.
Oh, it was Double or Nothing. Okay, yeah, sorry. All that stuff felt forever ago. But I mean, obviously a monumental moment, and Seth referencing it here as if it was something that took place just in the WWE itself. It's something that's very unusual, that we see in the WWE. Them referencing other timeline events that didn't take place under their jurisdiction. They don't even reference NXT things, all that much anymore. So for Rollins to just make mention of that just makes this add so much depth and sort of a, I don't know, respect for your audience, who's probably seen all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought this was a great promo from Seth, and then Cody challenges him to fight now, and Seth teases jumping the barricade, but balks at it, so Cody goes after him, and they fight in the crowd, and it's a big pull apart. The producers are out. I thought this was a really strong segment to send you into Sunday. This feels like the main event of the show. Let's be honest, this is certainly this does not feel like a big show on Sunday, but they did a very good job for this as a go-home segment involving these two. So
it's our only cell match.
It's the only cell match. I mean, it should be going on last because there's certainly not any other options as of now.
I agree. I thought it was a very good segment. I think Cody continues to be a really strong promo in the midst of, I would say pretty stagnant deliveries all around the rest of the show. His delivery, especially again, I think being in the WWE has honestly improved his promos because they're well delivered as they always have been. But now the content is completely clear. There's no kind of real subtle mistaking of what he might be referencing or what he might not be. Seth also sounded tremendous here. It is going to be really difficult for me to overcome like a third match sort of like, apathy, especially when one person has already won 2 of the 3 matches, and maybe he'll probably win the third one here as well. But the segment was really strong.
Alexa Bliss versus Doudrop, who had Nikki in her corner. Doudrop misses her in the corner. Alexa got a bloody nose in this. Doudrop misses a senton. Crowd was totally dead for this. Vader bomb misses. She kicks Nikki off the apron, twisted Bliss, and Alexa wins in 3:19.
Not much to speak about here. Pretty basic kind of David Goliath match, which Doudrop seems to just like babyface or heel. It doesn't really matter because they don't really have any identity thus far. So she's just kind of like a obstacle for Alexa Bliss to overcome here.
All 3 of these people feel lost on this show. They have nothing going on.
Alexa, clearly they're giving her wins to try to give her some sort of significant role coming out of this, maybe a title challenge. But what is surprising is, the lack of personality she's shown since she's come back. It's been like 4 weeks now, 4 or 5 weeks maybe. And her whatever character she's supposed to be is still a real mystery to me. She just feels really generic all of a sudden, with her only sort of significant trait being the fact that she still carries the doll. And she smiles a lot, which, it seems to be their default now these days for baby faces in their women's division. Just smile.
Miz TV, Miz Plugs, Miz and Mrs. returning next week with 2 episodes to start off season 3, and Maurice will be here.
That is correct, yeah. But before this, John, we had Lacey Evans. The only time we saw Lacey Evans on the show.
I missed it.
She was in a highlight package because she helped start the race at the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600.
I did see this. Okay, I didn't... those interstitials I usually don't include in the recaps. Yes, so last week they had promoted that Lacey Evans would be in action this week. Mm-hmm. She was not in action, so did WWE summarily and unprofessionally advertise a match all week long and not deliver it?
I was disappointed.
This is really bad because WWE is now going to have to pull all of its merchandise.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, listen, their answer is going to be, hey, like, we can falsely advertise, but it's under our power, it's under our watch. No, a talent cannot falsely advertise on our behalf, I mean, of course.
But don't give me this argument that an advertised match carries this great weight that the viewer is left so empty by not receiving on this particular episode. And let's be honest, 90% of the people watching this probably had no idea or forgot that that Lacey Evans was advertised for this show. It's comical. This is in such close proximity to this being such a big deal.
Yes, it's true, except for the fact that it's Memorial Day. They aired this video package later on in the show that they aired on SmackDown, and coming out of that package would have been such a perfect spot to, debut what looks to be a babyface Lacey Evans. It's Memorial Day, and you have somebody with basically, whose character is that she's a former veteran. Like, I don't know what happened here. Did she miss a flight or something? Like, what? How could you not take advantage?
Well, and let's give some wiggle room here that if there had been an issue that she couldn't be on the show and it was out of their power, I still say when it comes to advertising, you still make mention of that. Like, listen,
sure.
It was beyond our control. Lacey Evans was not available this week. She will be back next week. Something. You have advertised something.
And the not being able to make it is our speculation. We don't know what happened here, but for one thing, like if you advertise,
I'm just saying that's one of the we don't know what the issue was, if it was a decision made by the company or that she was not available for whatever reason.
Sure, whatever, but it's a missed opportunity either way. I mean, I feel like maybe their explanation would be that, well, she doesn't have a role on the pay-per-view on Sunday. We're choosing to devote our TV time to this Miz TV 24/7 segment.
Tonight is about Tamina finally winning this title. So we don't have time for the All-American Lacey Evans.
But I mean, talk about like a fumbling of this like whole thing, you know? Like from the video packages to the awkward debut to trying to change course like last minute to just missing out on the perfect opportunity to have her in-ring debut or return here. To me, it's just like it's so clear they have no idea what they're doing with this person.
Miz gets interrupted by the Street Profits, who I swear they come out just to like shoot the breeze about Hell in a Cell and talk about the matches that they're looking forward to. They finally ask Miz what he's looking forward to, and as he goes to answer, they cut him off with, "It doesn't matter what you think," which did get a pop from the crowd. The 24/7 geeks are all out.
I fucking hate that thing. Like, I mean, yeah, it's cool when The Rock did it in like 1999.
Or in
like,
his shoot promo in the USWA on Young Rock. Apparently
he did it way back then, eh?
He used it on the fictitious Booker.
But it's just like it's not been that cool for like 20 years. But I guess it worked out here fine.
So all the 24/7 people are out. Tozawa yanks the belt off Dana Brooke. T-Bar is now part of this mess. Montez Ford super kicks T-Bar. I was so frightened that Montez Ford was going to win this title, but he was kept away from it. Apollo Crews is in here, blah, 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 blah. Tamina hits a Samoan drop and pins Dana Brooke, kisses Tozawa, who then uses a backslide to pin Tamina, and Tozawa leaves with the 24/7 title.
And apparently, is this like significant because it was Tozawa's first win or something? Didn't they say finally he won?
He's had the 24/7 title.
Oh, he has?
Didn't he lose it to the Shark? Or no, he got eaten by the Shark.
Yeah.
I don't ask me for the title lineage. I have no idea. This was terrible. I hated this segment.
This just felt like, like a shitty salad of scraps that they didn't have time for on the rest of the show, shoved in one segment. Oh, we flew the Miz and we flew the Street Profits and we got nothing for them to do. Let's just throw them all together and throw the 24/7 guys in there too. It was just like every non sequitur just like crammed into one thing. It was about what you did.
You're right. Like the Miz literally had like 2 lines on this show. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Mustafa Ali is out to take on Ciampa. Theory is on commentary. Ali does his roll into the ring right into a knee strike. These guys are trying to have a nice match, but nobody cares. It's all positioning of this. Ali goes for a suicide dive, crashing into the desk, and then Theory grabs Ali's leg, yanking him off the turnbuckle for our first DQ of the night in 3:29, and he beats the hell out of Ali, throws him into the post, and because of this win by DQ, Ali gets a future shot at the United States title, which Theory wants to grant him now. So Ali is beaten throughout the commercial break. He's in the corner. The referee is protesting and saying, "Ali, you don't have to do this. I'll fight him. I'll fight him." He can't even stand. The man can't even stand. And the bell rings. Ali hits him with a super kick out of the corner and a spinning DDT, but then gets crotched on top, and Theory hits the ATL, pinning Ali in 1:46 when Adam Pearce saves the day and says Vince McMahon wants to see a fair fight. So this Sunday, it's Theory against Ali at Hell in a Cell. So at least Ali has a match in his hometown at the pay-per-view.
Which always works out great for the hometown person in these scenarios. Yeah.
What a setup this was.
What a red hot baby face they built up here. In one segment he's getting the shit beat out of him by Ciampa. The match gets DQ'd when Theory beats him up. We had a second match here where Theory just basically just destroys him. So sign me right up for that title match. I mean, and they might do a thing where, this is all so that he could set up a title win, and we'll see Ali win the victory. Great, awesome. Like, what a way to turn this U.S. title around. You really, in the end, you're just like, for one thing, I don't think he's going to win the championship, and even if he does win, it's meaningless. You're just passing this prop from one cold champion to another. So. Yeah, I don't. This whole Ali thing is, it's really hard for me not to see it as just like a long, drawn out,
Wait, you gotta wait for it to play out.
You're right. Yeah, maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it is pretty terrible to be the weak challenger getting destroyed to set up your challenge on Sunday. It's even worse to be the background guy for the guy getting destroyed to set up his title challenge on Sunday. Ciampa is just like I think he's just like
Listen,
nothing.
Hey, wait. He could fall further. Okay, he could be T-Bar right now. Just running for the 24/7 division and then just thrown out. I mean,
he could be the 24/7 Ciampa.
Yes, he can. Yeah. It's a shame because you see him wrestle here. I mean, it's like the man is a Porsche. Like he's that good. He's so incredibly great, and just kind of being used here to, I don't know, for your grocery run.
Now he's like AlphaTauri or something. I don't know. He's like, he's been relegated. We have a walk and talk with Riddle in the back. Randy's not here. Nakamura pops into the scene, and they have a common purpose to bleed the bloodline dry. So that is our championship contenders match. The Usos against Riddle and Nakamura. Heat on Riddle for a long time.
The Ronin and the Bronin.
Yes, they were called the Ronin and the Bronin.
Kind of catchy.
Kind of not. Nakamura hits a sliding German to Jimmy off the middle rope and then goes for a Kinshasa, but is stopped when Jay gets onto the apron. Jimmy lands a super kick. There's a tag to Riddle, and he goes for the draping DDT on Jay. It's stopped. Nakamura makes a blind tag, and as Jay goes for a dive, he runs into the Kinshasa. Jimmy makes the save, and it's Riddle in doing all the Randy spots, calls for the RKO, but Jay blocks and hits a super kick. Jimmy then attacks Riddle with the scooter for the DQ after however long this went. Riddle and Nakamura recover, and it ends with Riddle hitting a super RKO off the top to Jay. So they won by DQ because of this scooter attack. So that should mean that they get a future title shot. I thought they were going to announce this for Sunday, which I guess they could add this. This would automatically be the number 2 match on the show if they did, but we will see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't have added it to the roll call later if that was the case.
I was expecting it the way this match ended. Like this, it should be on the show Sunday.
You would figure, or maybe they save it for next Monday, or Friday or something.
Yeah, why not? Let's just do it on TV. Yeah. This, when they put tickets on sale for Hell in a Cell, they've done a great advance for this show in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking at like the card that they are giving them that we have currently right now. I would just be like, it's like that's a hot market for them, and they are not bringing a hot show. They have one match, and that's what this show is on Sunday.
Yeah, not very hot in terms of anticipation. Absolutely. We're getting to the point where we have A shows, we have B shows, and we have C shows, and these are feeling like C shows. But I think they're very confident, or at least they probably think there's a big value simply in having the Cell there and having Cody, being a leading act. Which I think the main event will be great, and I think for the most part, whenever we talk about these pay-per-views, like the wrestling itself is usually very good. So I don't.
But we are starting to introduce a trend of like the big stars not on these shows, and and we will see what Money in the Bank how if this is reflected on that based on the change of the names that they're advertising for that show. That it kind of like Ronda is I believe still advertised for Sunday, but I mean which they could still add a match to, but I mean she's got
really
nothing.
Late.
It's very late.
3 days ahead. Anyway, we got a glimpse of Nakamura and Riddle here. I think Nakamura is actually a very good fit with Riddle. He's a great temporary replacement for Orton here that puts the focus on Riddle as the center of the team. I think his momentum as a strong babyface continues to be elevated, even without Randy Orton here. So I thought this was another successful outing for the both of them. Big, spectacular RKO at the end, and I can't. I mean, I could see them delaying this for TV, but I really think they should put it on the pay-per-view.
Well, we'll see. They could always add this just online or announce it. Kevin Patrick interviewed Ali. He's hurting right now, but he will make sure it's worth it. He will not stay down, and he will walk out of his hometown as champion. And with that, Theory beats the hell out of him and takes a selfie. Like, you can't write this.
I didn't even realize it was in Chicago. So, I mean, how many CM Punk chants do we get? Because we got some of it already in this Ali segment earlier. A little bit.
It just seems like they've been to Chicago a bunch of times since Punk has gone back to AEW, and they have not been a thing. I'm not expecting them. Not saying it's impossible, but we'll see.
I guess Punk is just like a bit more in the news these days. Usually at this point, like if you hear it in the WWE, it's usually more of a term of like revolt, as if the crowd wants to say, we don't like this. And if they deliver a strong show on Sunday, they won't have an opportunity for people to chant Punk.
Think of the fact that Hell in a Cell and Forbidden Door are 4 weeks apart in Chicago, and between they're both full.
Mm-hmm. Hey man,
like it's over 12,000 tickets are out for Hell in a Cell. It's like over 14 or so for Forbidden Door. That's folks. That's why they're going to Chicago with these shows.
And I don't think they're the same fans. You know, I think you have a very insatiable audience that maybe is willing to travel.
I'd be really curious to know the overlap of people going to both shows. I'm sure there's some, but I wonder how high that percentage would be. They have also added the Judgment Day versus AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan, which should be a very good match for Sunday's show. And then my favorite, the Money in the Bank ad, which now the voiceover. It will now take place inside the intimate confines, which is the term we are going with, of the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I love that a 12,000 seat arena is now intimate.
Yeah. It's
This is like if Much Music did like intimate and interactive at like the Skydome.
Sure, you're right. Yeah. It's I mean, I think that's always like you accentuate the good qualities and you minimize the weaknesses, right?
I guess so, yes. There was also a Memorial Day video that they aired here. But before all of that, Liv Morgan makes her entrance. And you always see this. The person will come out, they'll do their entrance, then they go to break, and sometimes we'll go backstage, we'll do some stuff. The person's just out there, they've turned down the lights, and then the opponent comes out. Well, this time, they crammed so much stuff that between Liv Morgan walking out and the bell ringing for this match to start, 19 minutes passed.
Wow, really?
She walked out at 10:15 p.m. and the bell rang at 10:34.
God.
That has to be a record for one of these.
Yeah, maybe.
She stood out there for 2 commercial breaks.
Yeah, I wonder what she did to pass that time. Chatted, maybe?
I don't know. She could have done a lot in 19 minutes.
I mean, she could have done her whole warm-up after she got out there. Yeah, it was a terribly awkward transition, I felt, going from the Memorial Day thing to just this match that, oh, by the way, it's, remember this from 19 minutes ago? Yeah, the match is happening now. Again, it would have been a perfect spot to put Lacey Evans coming off of the video.
After the commercial break, AJ Styles and Damian Priest magically appear ringside. Ripley's in control and then runs into the post, and Liv hits a high cross to the floor. Priest then holds on to Ripley to prevent oblivion, so AJ attacks Priest, the Riptide gets avoided, and Liv hits a backstabber and rolls her up, and the referee counts 1, 2, and then makes the motion for the 3 count, but doesn't hit the mat. But everyone just went along as it was the finish, that unless you were listening for it, you wouldn't have even noticed it. But it was, I could have imagined it would have thrown people not hearing the hand hit the mat, but nonetheless, this was fine, and I think the match will be pretty good on Sunday with all these people involved. And Liv and Ripley, they have a good chemistry together.
Yeah, I think the crowd continues to really like Liv Morgan. She works really well as a underdog babyface, and you have AJ and Finn Balor and Edge in the match. I'm sure it'll be very successful.
Liv can probably take the fall. I guess any of them could take the fall. Really.
No, Finn Balor's taking the fall. Are you
You're right.
Me?
You're right. Finn's probably below Liv.
Finn can afford a loss more than Liv Morgan can at this point. Yeah.
Priest attacks AJ, and then Priest goes after Liv, prompting Finn Balor to run down. So he was not out ringside, but he shows up and he attacks him. Liv missile dropkick is delivered to Ripley, and then a phenomenal forearm to Priest and a coup de grace before the three of them too sweet each other. And Liv's segment that began at 10:15 p.m. ended at 10:47.
Wow, the whole 10 o'clock hour is Liv Morgan. So, hey, win or lose, we got to credit Liv Morgan.
If that 50-plus audience doesn't drop below I'd say a 0.82, then Liv confirmed draw.
Okay,
That'll be the next WrestleNomics special. Is Liv
yes.
Morgan a draw? Final segment. So Adam Pearce is out for the contract signing. At some point, this is how much attention I was paying, Way, because all of a sudden I'm listening and there's like some documentary on Margaret Thatcher that's been playing on my TV for 5 minutes. And I realized I have hit my remote and I went over to TVO or something. And I realized I just thought this was like some commercial or something. And it's like 10:56 and I have not watched any of the contract signing. So anyway, I was very engaged here. Lashley, Omos, and MVP are out. MVP was cutting a great promo, and these fans are just doing the what chant. God damn it. Like, I really detest this chant, especially when it's like a good promo, and it's just to fuck with the performers. And I understand there is a way that these performers speak that does kind of invite the what chant that you have to work around, but it still sucks, and I'm so tired of this thing.
I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, it felt to me though like it is as much, I think, a way for audiences to just simply voice displeasure at a heel. I mean, it is a modern way of booing, you know, in the WWE, where you don't want to hear what the.
How
heel
about we
has
do the
to
old
say.
way of booing?
Well,
We don't need to update booing.
you got to make booing a bit cooler than just, you know, I think what it has been. I mean, they have nobody to blame but themselves. It's just something that they created, isn't it? So it's not every wrestling fan, you know, especially if you're just there to be entertained by the show. Not every wrestling fan is going to think about, well, how much respect are we showing the performers? You know, they're just there to react the way that they're going to react.
I'm just saying, this what chant is literally older than Julia Hart.
Wow, amazing. I mean, listen, like we need. How is that? How is it that we don't have a, you know, tried and true remedy for this thing by now? Like this is really just it's something I feel like we should have cured by now. This what epidemic? You know, we've had a lot of time.
Well, there's a lot of chants I wish we could just put in the bin, but this is one that is just gonna. This one will outlive me. I'm sure of it. Lashley says he never needed MVP. He was a leech trying to stay relevant. He says, I considered you a friend. MVP says, I considered you a brother. And Lashley says he's going to send them both to hell as he signs the contract. They stand up, and then Omos and Lashley just destroy all the furniture. The desks are tossed aside. They do their best Wardlow impression, sending all the security guys flying. Omos is taking these chairs and just tossing them over. And then Cedric Alexander appears, chop blocking the knee of Lashley. But Lashley makes his own comeback, gets dropped by Omos, and MVP, get the table! And Omos gets the table. And Lashley avoids and spears Omos through the table. And that's how the show ended, with Lashley standing tall here. So maybe doom is coming for Lashley on Sunday.
Maybe. Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, contract signing here, I think about honestly as by the numbers of a contract signing as you could expect, you know.
By the letters.
By the letters, correct, yeah. This was, I'll say, like, I think it was a good go-home show in that it, you know, put a lot of focus behind the matches that were taking place. And some good wrestling, you know, on the show. I really like Belair versus Asuka. The tag match was good.
Was there there was a solid hour, is what you can say in this. Maybe an hour and a half.
Cody
for you.
promo. Cody and Seth
and-
promo was good. That was
Cody and
strong.
Seth was very good.
Yeah. But
The contract signing was what it was. The 6-man was all right with Ezekiel as well. I just didn't feel a ton of energy attached to the show, but I really did enjoy the Rollins-Cody segment. I think that was the strongest part of this show. And the rest is, like, you've got a lot of talents that, you know, you see the few that are being pushed in a meaningful way and the rest that are sort of just, you know, they're attachments, which you're going to have that. I do think Sunday, I think it'll be a fine show. I get lots of fine shows. So,
well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this is always the issue. I think it's almost guaranteed that the wrestling will be more than solid on Sunday. You can question whether or not the booking will be satisfactory. And more importantly, what we're here to talk about is what is our interest going into the show. And much like it was for the WrestleMania Backlash, and I'm sure much like it will be for many of their, you know, at this point, BC level shows that they're doing, it's pretty low. and you can just kind of chalk that up to star power. You can chalk that up to them building to a third match in a trilogy where one person has won 2 matches to 0. And just, maybe just a overall lack of star power.
So this is the card we have as of now. Cody Rhodes against Seth Rollins in the Hell in a Cell match. Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's title. Kevin Owens against Ezekiel. Bobby Lashley against MVP and Omos. Theory defending the U.S. title against Mustafa Ali. And Liv Morgan, AJ Styles, and Finn Balor against the Judgment Day. So what we have is a Raw pay-per-view so far.
Wow, interesting.
It is all Raw matches so far. We will see if they add the Usos and Riddle and Nakamura.
But even then, it would be sort of a Raw pay-per-view. They've got the Raw championships.
Let me look and see if they are still on the site listing Ronda, at least in the advertising for this. She's on the poster, and yeah, Ronda Rousey is still being. They are listing here like Ronda Rousey, Drew McIntyre, who do not have matches yet. So we could get some additions this week.
It's interesting because WrestleMania Backlash only had 6 matches too, and that's already what we're up to for this one.
Yeah, just the fact that their names are featured on here does not mean that's a given that they will be on this show. But obviously, we know Ronda was originally supposed to be on this show with Sasha Banks, and that fell apart.
Very interesting. Okay.
Let's take some feedback before we wrap it up. We go to Manny from Pacoima. Sorry for asking in a Raw review, but do you have any news on Jeff Hardy? AEW's Instagram page posted the advertised 10-man tag for Wednesday is now an 8-man, with Jeff and Adam Cole being removed. Yes, that has been changed for Wednesday's Dynamite. I do not have an update regarding Jeff Hardy, but that is everyone's speculation that potentially he was hurt, but that is not confirmed.
We got a Kate from Montreal who says last night's main event for Double or Nothing was about 25 minutes long, which means that between the time she arrived and when her match finished, Liv Morgan spent almost as much time in the ring as CM Punk in the last 24 hours. They really have got to do something about the way they block these shows so that people don't just hang out for ages because it's gotten silly. It is gotten silly, yeah. I mean, I understand the appeal of wanting to transition between one block of a show to another block seamlessly. I think you could do just as much by having Liv Morgan just appear in the back on her way out. I don't know if they see that much value. Do they see that much value in giving somebody a complete entrance? It's
they obviously do. They obviously see this as an effective way to hold people.
Really? If it's 19 minutes, between.
Well, this one was on the longer side that I've ever seen them. I mean, usually it's to hold people over for a commercial break and then maybe a backstage segment, and then we go back to the ring. This was ridiculous because we did it again with Rhea, because when she finally entered, they went to another commercial break.
Yeah, wow. She goes on to say, Cody versus Seth definitely feels like the hot program going into Sunday, and I expect the women's title match to be very good as well. What matches do you think we're going to have from SmackDown? That's everybody's question. There aren't any books so far, but I can think of what they'll put on there. I can't think of what they'll put on there unless it's a Corbin-Moss rematch. Yeah,
Corbin is back on Friday. That does nothing for me to add that. I don't see them adding that one. It just seems unnecessary. I guess, your options, it's not like it's for lack of programs. You've got the potential of an Usos match with Nakamura and Riddle. You have the potential of Rousey against Raquel or Rousey against Shotzi. You have Drew against, pick your person if you want to get him onto the show. There's people you can do it with, but again, it's sort of just like padding out a card that's already. I'm not complaining about 6 matches. I think it's kind of the opposite approach to what we had at Double or Nothing, but we are going to get a fraction of the show that Double or Nothing was.
Yeah, but the fact that we're only getting matches from one brand does suggest something pretty interesting, because I feel like the brand split means nothing these days, yet to get a pay-per-view of only one side of matches would be very peculiar for sure, especially when you're so low in depth of star power. To not have a Ronda match or Drew match would be strange.
And even if they do end up on there, it's a very quick bit. It's not like you have a big program ready for it. And the Ronda one, obviously, there were extenuating circumstances. But it's not like last week did a whole lot to really push you in the direction of wanting to see a match.
Right.
Okay. That's going to wrap up Rewind to Raw. If you want to go back, we have a 2+ hour show going through Double or Nothing on Sunday night. You can go check that out on your podcast app of choice or youtube.com/postwrestling. Go subscribe and you will get alerts whenever we are going live. Weekdays at 1 Eastern, where we are back for the post-daily news show on Tuesday, and then Rewind Away on Tuesday night, reviewing Friends from Season 3 and The Office from Season 2.
Yeah, I believe links to all of that is up at forum.postwrestling.com, right, John?
I don't know, actually.
Oh,
They
okay.
might not.
Well,
They might not be.
You'll find them somewhere, I'm sure.
Okay, search them out. Depending on what country you're in, I don't even know where you can go outside of. I had to find these. Friends was on Crave, and The Office was on Netflix in Canada.
Okay.
So that's where I went.
In the U.S., it would probably be all on Peacock.
That's right.
would
Yes,
guess.
most likely. Okay, that's going to wrap it up. We'll chat with you on Tuesday, and that is it.